So the Zhou dynasty, which lasted from about 1046 to 256 BCE, was honestly one of the most influential and longest-lasting dynasties in Chinese history. It really shaped the foundation of Chinese civilization for centuries to come. The era is typically divided into two main periods: the Western Zhou, from around 1046 to 771 BCE, and the Eastern Zhou, which spanned from 770 to 256 BCE. The Eastern Zhou, by the way, includes those famous Spring and Autumn and Warring States periods. The Zhou people actually came from the far western regions of the Yellow River, which is in present-day Shanxi province. They managed to overthrow the Shang dynasty around 1046 BCE and set up a new ruling family. Importantly, they introduced the concept of the Mandate of Heaven. This idea stated that a just ruler had divine approval to rule, but this mandate could be lost if the ruler became corrupt. This concept really stayed at the core of Chinese political thought for centuries. The Zhou dynasty brought in a feudal system, dividing the empire into territories that were controlled by regional lords who owed allegiance to the Zhou king. This system decentralized power, giving local rulers a lot of independence, especially during the Eastern Zhou period, when central authority weakened and, honestly, states often fought among themselves. Zhou society was set up in a pretty strict hierarchy, with the king at the very top, then nobles, warriors, and finally peasants and artisans. The family was really considered the basic unit of society, and the state itself was often seen as an extension of the family, with the king kind of acting as the patriarch. During this period, agriculture improved significantly. The introduction of iron tools and ox-drawn plows increased productivity, allowing China to support a larger population. Large-scale irrigation and water control projects were also started, further boosting agricultural output. Trade expanded, towns grew, and coinage was developed, reflecting a more complex economy. The Zhou dynasty was a time of remarkable artistic development. Early Zhou art continued many traditions of the Shang, especially in bronze work and jade carving. However, new artistic styles and techniques also emerged. Bronze work. The Zhou continued the Shang tradition of casting elaborate bronze vessels, often inscribed with Chinese script. Over time, the shapes, decorations, and craftsmanship evolved, with the lost wax casting method introduced during the Eastern Zhou. Jade carving. Jade was used extensively for ornaments, ritual objects, and funerary items, with craftsmanship reaching new heights during the Warring States period. Lacquerware. The Zhou developed the art of lacquerware, coating objects with a hard, shiny finish made from tree sap. This technique allowed for intricate designs and was widely used for decorative and functional items. Painting and calligraphy. Although few paintings have survived, written records describe paintings depicting figures, portraits, and historical scenes. Painting was done on pottery, tomb walls, and silk. Calligraphy also began to develop as an art form. Ceramics, pottery production expanded with new shapes and decorative techniques, especially during the later Zhou period. The Zhou period was, really a golden age for Chinese literature and philosophy. Some of the most important classical Chinese texts were actually compiled during this era. The Zhou produced works such as the Book of History, the Book of Songs, and the Book of Rites, which became foundational texts for Chinese culture and education. Philosophy during the Eastern Zhou era, especially throughout the Warring States period, saw the rise of what's called the 100 Schools of Thought. Key philosophical traditions emerged at this time. Confucianism, founded by Confucius, emphasized ethics, morality, social order, and respect for tradition. Taoism, or Taoism, associated with Laozi, focused on harmony with nature, simplicity, and the Tao, or the Way. Legalism advocated strict laws and centralized power to maintain order in society. These philosophies honestly had a profound impact on Chinese society and government for centuries. The Zhou dynasty was marked by several important technological innovations. Ironworking, for instance, revolutionized agriculture and warfare, making tools and weapons much stronger and more durable. Infrastructure projects like the construction of roads and canals improved communication and trade across the vast empire. And, chopsticks became widely used as eating utensils during this period. During the Zhou period, religious practices, really evolved from those of the Shang dynasty. The Zhou placed a strong emphasis on the worship of heaven, or Tian, instead of the Shangdi, who was the supreme god during the Shang era. Rituals and ceremonies were absolutely central to both political and social life, with elaborate rites performed to honor ancestors and deities. The legacy of the Zhou dynasty is honestly immense. The concept of the mandate of heaven went on to influence Chinese political thought for thousands of years. The feudal system and the idea of the emperor as the son of heaven really shaped the structure of later Chinese dynasties. Zhou art, literature, and philosophy laid the foundation for so much of Chinese culture, education, and government. Even as the central power of the Zhou kings declined, this period saw a real flourishing of local cultures, artistic styles, and schools of thought, making it a dynamic and formative era in Chinese history. The Zhou period also saw the first use of coins in China, which helped facilitate trade and economic development. Plus, the Chinese writing system was further developed and standardized, helping to unify the culture and administration of the vast empire. The remains of Zhou cities reveal some pretty advanced architecture, including large buildings with rammed earth walls, two-story structures, and even observation towers. In summary, the Zhou dynasty was a period of significant growth and transformation for Chinese civilization. It was marked by political innovation, social and economic progress, artistic and literary achievements, and the birth of philosophies that would shape China for centuries. The Zhou legacy really endures in many aspects of Chinese culture, making it, without a doubt, one of the most important eras in world history.